So for removal of this headlight assembly, there should be 4 screws. The 2 at the top there, that one, and that one down there, and the one over there. But first you got to remove this plastic cap, and that gets you access to the back of the bulb, which will let you pull the bulb out of the enclosure. So underneath that bulb cover, you'll have this rubber protective cover. Mine was pretty stuck to that. Just be careful not to rip it. Bring it out like that. And you should see this has a cam pieces in there. You press the bulb in, which goes forward, and then you rotate the left to unlock it. And then out comes your connector, which gives you access to your bulb. So this connector is keyed, so you will only be able to get it back in one way, and it can be kind of frustrating to figure it out. On mine, the ground looks like it points out on the right side, and we'll see what it looks like on the left side when we go to put it back together. But it basically goes in here, you get all your little tabs in there, and then it drops in once the tabs line up, which is kind of difficult to do, and then you just twist it to lock it. And then same thing with the cover. The cover here, and it's kind of dark, it's hard to see, I know, is also keyed and has a tab there that matches the tab at the top for the little light piece. There's the tab, key, and that just lines back up with the top of the bulb fitting there. You want to make sure you get it fully seated so that it keeps water and other stuff out of there. And when it's all the way in there, it should be nice and flush all the way around. All of this lip should be closed, making full contact with your headlight enclosure so that you don't get water and stuff in there. Keeps it nice and shiny like you saw. So on reassembly, keep in mind these screws are all just going into plastic, so you want to make sure that they are snug and no tighter, otherwise you will strip them out and it will suck to try and get them back in again later. So just snug. Alright, so attempted headlight restoration on a 2004 Honda Recon ES quad. This is the Stanley P1829 enclosure, and these are really hard to find online, and if you do find them, they're usually in about this condition. So we're going to try and crack this open with some heat to break the seal, and I'm going to be very careful here to try not to break the glass, and we will just put this back in with probably some clear RTV to hold it together after we've got the reflector and the glass all cleaned up. I'm going to start by evenly applying heat all the way around it on low, because I don't want to heat the glass too quick and have it explode or crack. And we will see where we go from there. Flip it over and also apply some heat back here where that seal rides. Just the can all the way around, nice and even, not too quick. Once again, try not to blow that glass up. So now that we've got it heated, it is pretty hot, so we're going to use this to turn this guy over. And I'm going to use the pick to get into this little access corner here and try and pry that lens out of the housing. And since I am not made of hands, we will use this extra clampy hand to hold this in place while I do the prying and just gently lift up on this guy. If this hand will hold together. Well, so far so good. So that should lift right out just like that, and that is a lot of rust. That's what I was afraid we were going to find, but not surprised. So this is what we were left with, and I'm going to do some poking around and see what the best replacement reflector material is for this, because as you can see, that's toast. We'll see what we come up with after we get this all cleaned up. So the main thing on the glass here is to clean this upper mating surface and crap out of the groove down here so that you have some place for the overflow silicone or RTV or whatever sealant you're using to flow back into. And I'm probably going to get some rust dissolver, rust remover, some kind of acid to get the last of that rust off of the glass, because it's not coming out with the wire brush. I'm using a brass brush, just ignore these 2 steel brushes, to try not to scratch the glass. The steel brushes I'm using to knock the rest of this crap out of the reflector housing. I know this is a drill brush. I'm not actually using it on a drill. I would recommend against doing that because you could damage the enclosure or hurt yourself. I'm just using it by hand to get through these corner radiuses. I'm just getting that in there and then rotating it through that corner to try and clean the rust out of there. And this guy's pretty pitted, so I'm really not so concerned about mating surfaces anymore, because that's just going to all get filled in with silicone. Alright, so now that we've gotten to this point, we are going to use some of my two favorite chemicals. This is Kroil Penetrant and Hydroforce Glass Cleaner. And we're going to see how well that works in the glass. And this guy here, the Kroil, will actually do a really great job of removing the rust on this guy. And we will see how it goes. Spray a little on there, because this stuff's about $25 to $30 a can. So being very frugal with it. Just kind of let that sit. And then the bonus here, having this on the paper towels, is we will use the paper towel later with all the Kroil in it to just come back through and kind of wipe this all out. And the Hydroforce on the glass. This stuff's good stuff and still has plenty of ammonia in it. So don't use it on your LCD monitors or it'll eat your plastics. But we'll let that sit for a minute, wipe it out, and see what happens. So Kroil does a pretty good job of neutralizing rust anywhere you have it. There's a little left in the bottom there, but I'm not too worried about it. The rest of this is more or less rust-free, I would say, and ready for a coat of Rust-Oleum to keep it from coming back. And that glass worked out pretty well. And then to get the oily residue from the Kroil out of there, I just used the CRC glass cleaner to hit this again and kind of dust off the back of it. Other thing is the CRC, when you spray it on here, if you've got any rust left over, it'll show up real as a hot spot, like an orange hot spot in the foam once it starts to go. Kind of see it there. So that's another reason I really like it. And I'm going to go ahead and try and figure out what we're going to use as a new reflector material. So everything I saw online, people said send it to a professional automotive headlight restorer or a company to electroplate it, which would require a lot more pre-work, and that's just, I'm not in for all that. This is a $60 replacement for a used one or putting it back together the best I can, and so we gonna redneck it now. But it's not gonna look terrible once the glass is back on. Alright, so now that this is dry, we're just gonna use some clear adhesive sealant, silicone RTV. We're just gonna make a bead all the way around inside this outside lip groove, enough that it should be able to squish into the groove here in the glass when we put it back in, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so now that I have a nice bead of clear RTV all around, hard to see because it's clear, we're going to go ahead and put the glass reflector back here, or the glass housing cover thing back onto the reflector. It does have a tab in it. That tab goes in the little groove in the reflector housing, and then we'll just press it in and see how it fits. And then we'll make sure we press into that silicone, move it around a little bit so that it seats, gets as much grip on there as we can get. You can kind of see it squishing around the edges here. We want to make sure we rock it a little bit so that it fully engages with that silicone all the way around. Get it to squish out a little bit into the groove and get as much bite and surface contact as possible. And if we do need to take this apart again, there's always the heat gun. But for right now, we'll let that sit in here to dry. Do a little pressure on the back here, make sure it's even all the way around, a rocking motion. And that should properly set silicone. You can kind of see it beating up around there. So that should act as the glue that holds the assembly together, and we'll throw it back together when it dries. And it looks like this is the original headlight. It's a 12 volt, 25 watt. Made in Japan. So here's with the headlight all back in. I opted to use stainless hardware to get this put back in because I just didn't want to deal with it corroding over time. And for the bulb, I got these Hella A3603s, and it's got on the side there, it's a 12 volt, 25 by 25 watt. So we'll give that a shot. And remember, it's got the key on there. We'll get that installed, get this all buttoned up, and see if it turns on. So as it turns out, the old holder here for the bulb was really rusted out, and I just wasn't getting good contact. So I went ahead and ordered a new bulb holder set. Just crimped them in there. We'll probably hit that with some heat later to shrink them up, make them waterproof. And getting it back up in here, we found out that it still isn't making great contact, and I'm 100% sure it's because of the ground. And it's probably not the holder, it's probably this now as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get in here with a file and file down the inside edges where this is going to be making contact, because when I wiggled this in the holder, the bulb got way brighter but it won't stay that way. So we're going to file these surfaces down in here so that they're clean and make good ground. All right, got it situated. All right, and that's pretty much that. Headlight Resto on a 2004 Honda Recon ES. Way better.